Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Sheila Kennedy with the BizBasx Podcast, and this is episode number 5. Today we're talking about traditional education or college versus self-education. And I've spent a ton of money on education over the past decade. I finished my bachelor's degree 10 years ago and then went on to get my MBA. And while those degrees helped me get really great jobs in executive leadership in the nonprofit sector, it kind of sucked. Today we're going to talk about the last 4 years where I invested in a self-education. And we're going to talk about which type of education is helping me out the most as I traverse the world of building an online business. Run the intro and we'll be back with a quick thank you to our sponsors.
Welcome to the BizBasx Podcast. I'm Sheila Kennedy. I have over 20 years experience as an entrepreneur and 8 years in executive leadership. I also have an MBA and a marketing degree. With all that education and experience, I began the journey of starting an online business over 4 years ago and just breezed right into it. Heck no, I didn't. It was hard. So I started this podcast to share the dirty little secrets I found along my journey. We're going to bring you the hottest topics, inspiring interviews, and explore the tools the experts are using. Are you ready? Do you need more leads? If so, what you need is a sales funnel. And if you've never built a sales funnel before, or you need to get a little bit better at it, what you need is the One Funnel Away Challenge. For just $100, you get 30 days of focusing on your business in a way you never have. By the end, you will build a funnel that gets your business leads and sales. We challenge you to take the One Funnel Away Challenge now by going to bizbasx.com/funnel. That's BizBasx.com/funnel. How do you set goals now? How do you make sure you are on track through the year? These are the same questions I had for myself, and that is why I spent so much time designing the Grand Plan 2020 workbook. This is how I get all of my goals and intentions for my life and my business written out so I can keep the goals I set and improve my life as I do it. Get your copy of the Grand Plan 2020 workbook today at bizbasx.com/plan.
For being here and joining us for this episode on college versus self-education. I take this topic very seriously as it is a huge reason why I started this podcast. I was in my late 30s and I had been in real estate for a long time, and then 2008 hit. I was a real estate broker. I had a great business working from home where I could be there for my kids. And as a single mom of 4, that was really important. But I went from making a great income to making nothing. I knew I needed to go back to school and finish my degree. So I did. In my early 40s, I went back and I finished my bachelor's degree in marketing, and that was 2010. I took about a year off, and then I went on to get my MBA, and I finished that in 2013. And seriously, having those degrees, or at least being in pursuit of those degrees, helped me get jobs. But working for someone else, even if it was nonprofit, kind of stunk. I worked a ton of hours, and being salaried, I didn't get overtime. One job had massive layoffs multiple times, and I got caught in one of those layoff waves, and I lost that job. The next one I worked even harder at, poured my heart and soul into it, and nearly got fired from it. For me, working for someone hasn't had a great payoff. You work at the whim of someone else, you put in a ton of hours you aren't paid for, and in that sense, take those hours away from your family, and then at a whim, you can lose your job. Like I said, it sucks. After leaving the second job, I decided to start an online business. And as I mentioned in my intro, with all my education and experience, you would have thought it would be easy, but it really wasn't. There wasn't much from my marketing degree or my MBA that translated into the new online business world. So I started the path of self-education. And over the past 4 years, I really did buy course after course. I read book after book. I hired coaches. I watched thousands of videos. So with having completed 4 years of traditional education and 4 years of self-education over the past 10 years, I have an interesting perspective to share with you. So let's talk a little bit about traditional education first, and then we'll jump into the self-learning, self-education piece of it. Now, degrees used to be the only way to get a good job, but that's changing. I had a friend whose son graduated with an engineering degree, and that was around 2012. She was so excited and rightfully extremely proud of him. She told me he had gotten an amazing job in or near Silicon Valley and married a girl that he had been dating from college. She had just graduated with a master's degree in political science. When I asked my friend, they were going to wait to have kids until they got settled, and so I asked, oh, well, what is the wife going to do after college? She said she had gotten a job as a nanny. I was shocked. Getting a master's degree used to mean you got out of school and got a great job. It still worked for her son, but not for her daughter-in-law. That is when I first started to notice the incongruency between getting a college degree and getting a job. Now, in 2020, things have changed even more. You no longer need a 4-year degree to get jobs at Apple, Google, and Netflix, and this soon could be an industry norm. Here's some more staggering information. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York did a study and found that 27% of college graduates actually get a job in that field of their education, and 52% of them dislike their job. A Forbes article from July 2018 details how for more than 30 years tuition has grown at more than double the rate of inflation, and how the price of college is increasing almost 8 times faster than wages. Debt.org says college graduates on average have over $30,000 in debt and spend over a decade paying it off. And really, chances are your diploma is out of date before the ink dries. That's the sad reality of traditional education right now. A coach of mine says that while the world has had the most exponential growth in the last 100 years, from cars, planes, technology, internet, mobile devices, the only thing that has changed in the education system since 1920 is the blackboards are now white. It's a little drastic. There have been some technical advances, but not many. And I have a friend who just graduated with her bachelor's degree who did get a job in her field, sort of, but is making minimum wage as a receptionist. It's frustrating, but that is the state of education system today. And the sad fact is, the traditional education system is failing a lot of students and not preparing them for the jobs of today, and certainly not guaranteeing a good paying job or even a job at all. And then leaving these students with a boatload of debt that will take them years to pay off. Okay, that was a lot. So let's take a break here, thank our sponsors, and when we get back, we'll jump into what the alternative is to the traditional education system. Thanks for sticking with us through that break. And as I've mentioned before, starting an online business has not been easy. And about the middle of 2019, I almost gave up. I had tried a bunch of businesses, I had already spent a ton of money on self-education, and it still wasn't clicking for me. I was considering throwing in the towel and getting a job. And then there was this moment where I was at this crossroads. Another course came up, and I had a very hard time deciding to buy it or not. One of the course creators I knew and respected, and the other one was completely new to me. I listened to the pitch, it sounded great, but they all do, seriously. And it wasn't until nearly the last hour of the last day that I did decide to buy this course. I had already told myself before that, I'm not buying one more course, but I did, I bought it. And usually I finish most of the courses I buy, but there are some that I have left unfinished. They either weren't what they promised or they just weren't that good. And to be honest, there are some that I bought that I never started at all. This being one of the biggest downsides of self-education. Well, actually, it happens in traditional education too. So the downside of human nature then is that we don't always finish what we pay for. So we have to look at both sides of that. So this course, I did jump in and I finished it all the way through. And the course was pretty amazing. It actually changed everything for me. I had so many realizations throughout this course, but one huge one was that most course instructors, coaches, these people out there were only giving out pieces of the puzzle. And then when you got one piece, they would sell you on another. Okay, another huge downside to self-education. You don't know where the bottom is and when you'll have paid enough or learned enough to apply that knowledge to what you're actually doing. On the other hand, you may or may not apply any of your college education to your career. So that's something to think about. But back to this course. It did give me so many deep insights and behind the scenes information. It was fabulous. And most courses or coaches, as a bonus, typically have a Facebook group as a support. The Facebook group for this one was and is still amazing. We get to see what everyone is doing or struggling with and what their successes are. And I'm going to tell you more about this course in the next episode, where I'll introduce the course to you, who teaches it, and the rest of the insights I got from it. So stay tuned for episode 6. But let's talk about self-education as an industry now. Let's talk about self-education as an industry now. So self-education is a $166 billion a year industry, and according to Forbes, it's about to double in the next 5 years. So 166 billion broken down is 455 million a day people are spending on self-education, and $19 million a minute. Jeannie Romney, the CEO of IBM, says forget blue collar and white collar and look for new collar. These are people that didn't go to college or did and went ahead and got specialized knowledge and are immediately hireable. 98% of small business companies say they plan to use e-learning by 2020. And the great thing about self-education is you can learn from instructors or coaches that are actually doing the thing you want to do. You can learn from someone who is wildly successful at it, or someone who is gaining success and is willing to show you what they are doing along the way. In traditional education, the instructors often don't have real-world knowledge, or they don't have current knowledge. In my marketing degree and MBA courses, even though they are fairly recent, there wasn't anything about social media. There wasn't anything about email marketing. The two things that I did get from going later in life than say if I got my degrees right out of high school some 25 or 30 years ago is that I did them both online and we had team projects, and my teams were all around the world. Those two experiences really helped me navigate a bit better in the new realm of online business. Perhaps there are concepts that have crossed over, but real application of my traditional education is not that helpful. Now, on the other hand, I have learned a ton through self-education. We'll dig into all of that in the next episode, and there's so much I want to share with you on that. So let's recap the good and the bad with each type of education. Traditional college route, it is expensive. More and more companies are going to not require a 4-year degree. A lot of graduates don't get a job in their industry or can't get a job in their industry. Degrees and good paying jobs right out of college aren't adding up anymore. And self-education seems to be becoming the new norm. Whether you go to college or not, it is a thing. Either you'll do it for yourself to bolster your skills, or your employer will have you do it. You can literally learn anything you want to know, and from experts who are actually doing that thing. You can learn beekeeping, you can learn a language, and it can all be done from your laptop, desktop, or even your phone. The cost. Now that will vary. It can be done a lot for free, but that leads us to a pretty big downside to self-education. The never-ending rabbit trail of free education. I know I have spent endless amounts of hours on YouTube, starting with good intentions of figuring out how to do something, and then one video after the next, and I'm watching all sorts of topics non-related to why I went there in the first place. Getting lost in the vast amount of information is a downside. And as the industry grows, doubles even, it will get a lot more overwhelming. Navigating this will be the trick to getting a self-education. Staying focused and staying the course, so to speak, is how you can be successful at it. The next episode will be very exciting as we jump into more specifics of my self-education journey. But until then, like us on Facebook and join our BizBasx Insiders Facebook group. Just go to bizbasx.com/Facebook to get all the details. I'll see you next time.
Do you need more leads? If so, what you need is a sales funnel. And if you've never built a sales funnel before, or you need to get a little bit better at it, what you need is the One Funnel Away Challenge. For just $100, you get 30 days of focusing on your business in a way you never have. By the end, you will build a funnel that gets your business leads and sales. We challenge you to take the One Funnel Away Challenge now by going to bizbasx.com/funnel. That's BizBasx.com/funnel. How do you set goals now? How do you make sure you are on track through the year? These are the same questions I had for myself, and that is why I spent so much time designing the Grand Plan 2020 workbook. This is how I get all of my goals and intentions for my life and my business written out so I can keep the goals I set and improve my life as I do it. Get your copy of the Grand Plan 2020 workbook today at bizbasx.com/plan.